with Dani P, episode 6. We are out in Los Angeles for this one. I got a special guest with me today, Dallas Martin. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
What's good, Dallas Martin? We out here in Cali, Senior VP of A&R at Atlantic Records.
Go ahead and throw out that SVP.
You know, you have to let them know sometimes.
Of course.
You know what I'm saying? Work hard for that. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so let's start at the very beginning.
Yeah.
You come from Flint, Michigan.
Yep.
How would you describe your childhood coming up?
I mean, my childhood was definitely, you know, it was rough. I mean, I came from, you know, definitely a humble upbringing. My mother and my father were together for a little while, then they broke off, and my mom pretty much raised me. And, you know, it was dope. She worked a lot, so, you know, me and my brother really had to kind of, like, you know, grow up faster. But, you know, it was always love in the house, but, you know, financially, it was just, like, probably, like, a lot of people's upbringing, you know what I'm saying, a little struggle.
How do you think that kind of helped shape your success today?
I mean, I think that it taught me how to really work hard for mine, and I was never in a comfortable position growing up, so it made me really want to, like, figure out what I could do to change my life around and, you know, do something to help my mother out. So I always was, like, trying to figure out what steps to take to become successful from an early age.
At that age, did you see this for yourself?
I knew I wanted to be an A&R once I was in high school, which is crazy because I used to just really love music and stuff, but I couldn't rap, I couldn't sing, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, damn, how am I getting into the music business if I can't be an artist? So what was dope around the time when I was coming up in high school, that was like when Rockefeller, Murder Inc., you know what I'm saying, all these companies, Bad Boy, which is, you know, it was like a real big deal, and they were coming up, and people were really getting rich from like Master P,
right,
all those guys, and I was like, well, these guys don't rap, you know what I'm saying? I was trying to figure out what the people did behind the scenes, so I started kind of educating myself on what the Dames and what the Herb Gottis did, and I discovered A&R.
Okay, so moving on to later years, you went to Clark, Atlanta.
Yeah, I went to Clark, Atlanta.
You graduated from there?
Yep, I graduated. So it was crazy because when I was at Clark, I owed 2 classes or whatever, like my senior year, and they didn't let you walk or whatever. And that was like the year I got my first internship or whatever. And I wasn't going to go back for the longest. It took me 2 years to go back, but I did it for my mom. My mom was like, man, just go and get
It's like 2 more. It's one of those things you're like.
But I was like, man, I found my passion. I don't really, but, you know, I'm glad I did get my degree.
Speaking of that, how do you think your degree and education, having that under your belt, how do you think that helps you in this industry?
I mean, honestly, it doesn't help at all.
No?
I mean, it's just definitely like a good plan B. I think it's just something good for people to see when you do take an executive role that you are educated, you know, but, you know, when you're coming up, interning is way more important than going to college for most music companies.
But nowadays, you have to be in college to intern a lot of places.
Yeah, that's true. That's definitely true. So, I mean, yeah, I definitely used it as kind of a backup plan, and I used it as a way to, like, network, to build relationships, to kind of get into music, and that's why I chose Clark, Atlanta, because Atlanta was booming on the music scene when I was coming up.
Okay, so after graduating, was that your first internship, or were you still in school?
So I was my first. So when I first got to Atlanta, I was trying to get an internship every year, you know, and I was striking out. I was going to the conferences. I was doing everything to try to break into it, yeah.
How'd that make you feel? Because I always say, like, you have to learn to appreciate the no's and, like, the rejections, because that really does shape you and help prepare you and really builds you in character, strength, etc.
For sure. I mean, honestly, like, I was getting nervous. Like, I was like, man, I was trying to figure out, like, what other options, because, you know, I was studying business. Then me and my friends, we were throwing parties in college and stuff, so I was getting really into the promotional game and just learning how to, like, to kind of be a businessman and just kind of, like, build my own brand. But definitely, like, it made you appreciate the internship way more once you got it after all that time.
So having a hustle like club promoting, is that kind of what you're doing?
Yeah.
Having that and then trying to be taken seriously in the music industry, how did you manage to do that? Or, like, what conflicts did you run into, if any?
Well, what was good was it was still college, and it was kind of like I was with a big group of people, so I wasn't doing it at a major scale. So, which was great, was that when my senior year came and I did get the internship, I started falling back from promoter because I didn't want to be labeled as a promoter, because I wanted people to start seeing me as this music person that I always wanted to be. So I kind of fell back a lot from trying to be the face of it, but I still did little things, to make money, make ends meet while I was interning. But I definitely was falling all the way back from promoting once I got the internship.
Where was your first internship?
My first internship was at Def Jam with Shakir Stewart.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how did you get that one? You said you went through all the no's.
So what's crazy, the story is crazy, so I have to shout out this girl, Nazila, because she gets mad every time I don't say her name.
Shout out to Nazila.
So shout out Nazila. I love you. You my nigga for life. So basically, I was throwing parties in college, and our parties were becoming, we had the hot parties on college and shit, so everybody was coming. And she was a freshman at Clark when I was a senior, and she was coming to all the parties, and we developed a friendship. And her sister, who's Nicole Johnson of the Three Brown Girls, and she had a company with Kim Porter and all these people, and they were doing big upscale events and stuff. She was married to this guy named V. Johnson, and their best friend was Shakir Stewart, who was the vice president of Def Jam at the time. And Shakir Stewart signed Rick Ross, Young Jeezy. He was L.A. Reid's protege, everything. So Shakir looked at Nazila like a little cousin, niece, little sister, everything. So he was asking her, yo, who's the kids on campus that's, popping? I want to meet someone. I'm looking for interns. And she brought my name up, and she took me to go meet him one day, and he gave me an internship on the spot.
So with that being said, how important is networking to you?
Oh, man, it's the most important thing. Networking is it's not about what you know. It's definitely about who you know. But you definitely got to be prepared for your opportunities. But, you got to really be out there and move around and meet people and develop those relationships.
So upon getting the internship, where'd you go from there?
So once I got the internship, I literally lived in the building. I was fucking there all day, every day, from probably 10 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Was this paid? Or
Unpaid.
You for free?
I worked for free for 2 years.
Okay. And that's important for people to know.
Yeah. 2 years, unpaid internship, in the office every day, was going through tons of demo boxes every day, just studying, learning a lot from him. He would let me in meetings with him sometimes to kind of, get a feel what it's like to do the meetings. But he was training my ear at the same time. He just giving me a lot of quizzes on music and stuff like that. And he was just ultimately let me build relationships, start taking meetings, and he let me start building my relationships.
And then 2 years later, you got a job?
2 years later, he gave me a consultant position. And 2 months after that, he committed suicide. Wow. Which was crazy. So, I did all this work for this one guy. And at the time, I was a consultant for Def Jam, and the main office was New York. So he was the boss of Atlanta and New York. So he would go back and forth, and I would be in Atlanta. So when he was in New York all this time, I'd be taking all his Atlanta meetings. And I still didn't have a relationship with L.A. Reid. So he committed suicide. And 3 or 4 months after that, I was just kind of in a bad space, because he was a real mentor to me, a father figure, and everything. So so then L.A. Reid called me, and he was like, yo, I want to meet you. I heard some stuff from Shakir about you. I want you to come up to New York and meet with me. And Shakir, L.A. Reid had me come to Def Jam New York, and I had an interview, and he offered me a position as an A&R at Def Jam, and I was 24.
That's big.
Yeah, it was crazy.
That's big. To get something like that, especially at that age, you were doing something obviously different. Yeah. What were you doing that you think set you apart from everybody else? Because it's a very saturated industry.
Honestly, at the time, I think it was just my work ethic. People in Atlanta that he has relationships, of course, are yo, everybody fucks with me, and they trust me in with music. And at the time, what people don't understand when you're A&R, you can know producers and you can know what's hot, but it's a difference from a producer trusting you enough to give you their beats, their music, and things like that. So it's one thing to be oh, okay, that's a dope song, but it's another thing for that artist or whatever to be here's the song.
So it was work ethic mixed with talent mixed with network. Yeah, basically.
And ambition.
Okay.
For sure.
So how long were you a consultant at Def Jam?
Well, that was I got hired as a full-time A&R, so I was there. So the first project I got was Joel Santana, and at the time, Joel Santana was anti-label. So I had some relationships with some people. that got me in good standings with Joel's. So I would go work with Joel's every time I'm in New York. And, you know, he was developing a trust with me. But we did a few records together, and we didn't put the album together. We didn't, it's like your whole thing as A&R is like delivering the album. So what people understand, like,
it's not just matching things.
It's not just matching things. It's like it's delivering the album. Like, because a lot of people can't deliver the album. You know what I'm saying? So I couldn't deliver the album.
It's like closing the deal, basically.
Yeah, you know. So I couldn't deliver the album, and LA fired me after my first year.
What was your mindset at that point?
I went into a deep depression.
Really?
Yeah, I went into a deep depression. So now I'm back in Atlanta, and I made just enough money to, like, stay afloat, like, you know, during this time, whatever. It wasn't no real money I was making. It was, like, you know, basic, you know, entry-level salary position. So it wasn't like I saved up thousands of dollars. Mm-hmm. So kind of back in the trenches. Young. I was young, you know what I'm saying? So I started kind of throwing parties, like, on the low, you know, here and there, but I was staying in the studios. So I was staying connected to, like, all the young hot producers. So at the time, I had a good relationship, like, with Hit Boy, Chasing Cash, Esther Dean, just, like, a lot of people that were, like, rising, up-and-coming producers and writers. And I was pretty much, like, working a whole year just, like, being in the mix with people, like, you know. And I was getting interviews, and I was flying myself back and forth to L.A. with my last money doing buddy passes.
That's good. So, like, did you ever, at that point, think about giving up or switching
Yes, for
careers?
Sure. I felt like it wasn't going to happen for me because it's so rare at that age when you don't have really no success that you get a second chance in music.
And that happens, I feel like a lot of people go through times like that, whether it's, some people don't even get the chance to be hired and fired. Like, some people just go at it and don't, you know, they just get to that low point where they think about giving up or, like, dang, is this really for me? Because entertainment is a really tough industry to get into.
For sure.
So what advice would you give to somebody like that?
I think the best advice is you got to always believe in yourself, you know, stay true to your gut. And everything happens for a reason. And, you know, if you really believe in yourself, you just got to stick at it. Like, everything's not always going to just be how you plan it to be. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of ups and downs to the road to success for sure.
And you grow through it.
You definitely grow through it.
What was the biggest lesson, I guess, that you took from that what seemed to be a failure at that time?
I think was saving money, like knowing that this don't last forever and you got to put yourself in position to longevity and long term and just having your financials together. Can't blow money in the club, youngins. Right. And strippers. Right.
Hey, that'll get you.
Every time.
Especially in Atlanta.
Every time.
Okay, so what happened next? You said you were still staying in studios.
So Ethiopia, shout out to Ethiopia, who was a super boss in the game. She's like super popping. She saw my grind. She always saw my grind. She kind of was, you know, moving around in Atlanta, and she was put me in position to meet with Joey IE, who at the time was building up the urban division at Warner Brothers, and he came to Atlanta. He interviewed me for a position, and we had an interview. And I thought after leaving that interview, I was like, I'm definitely not getting hired here. This dude does not like me. He got a crazy poker face, and it was just no, like, emotion into anything, and it was just like, oh man, he ain't like me, you know. So it was dope. He called me like a week later and was like, yo, I'm gonna bring y'all to LA to meet Todd Moskowitz, who was the CEO of the company. And I went out there and met with them, and they offered me a position at Warner Brothers, which was dope, as an A&R.
And how long were you there?
So when I got there, that was pretty much the start. So basically, Warner Brothers and Atlantic merged. So I've been with the same company since 2011. So I got hired there in 2011. And when I first got there, I called Ross because I had a relationship with Ross because of Shakir. And Ross always supported me. He always, like, just somebody like, yo, if you need anything, just hit me up. I got you type thing. So me and Joey got Ross on the phone. And we discussed doing the Maybach music deal with him. And he was like, yo, I want y'all to come meet me in Toronto this weekend. I got a show. We went out to Toronto, and we sat down with Ross, and we started putting together the deal for Maybach music. And it's been, like, crazy ever since. Like, that was, like, the craziest moment because we started going crazy after that. It took off crazy.
Yeah. So how many years were you putting in work before you made it to where you are now, which is Senior Vice President of A&R?
Man, so I started off in 2011 as a A&R, just a senior A&R person. Well, they be like it's like the lowest level, basically. And I got promoted to VP after 2 years, and after 3 years I got promoted to Senior Vice President.
Would you say that typically happens?
No,
like
never. I had a tremendous success out the gate, which was like a blessing. I had Wale, Meek Mill, I signed K. Michelle. I had like just a lot going on, and Maybach Music was just on fire. And it was just Grammy nominations, a lot of number ones. It was a great time.
So what advice would you give to somebody who's trying to break through as an exec in the industry?
Stay close to hot talent. Believe in your talent, you know, because like one thing a lot of people don't do, they don't stick by. These kids, like they might think they're hot for a second, and if somebody tells them not, they fall off. You just gotta stay passionate. You gotta believe in what you believe in, and you just gotta keep going hard.
So I guess at this point, what do you consider like L's that you take?
Man, I think it's a L anytime I don't have an album gold or platinum. Like it's like super high level like intensity with all my projects now. Like if I don't have a number one record off one of my projects, like I feel like it's a failure.
What is something like, how do you scout your talent, I guess?
Well, now like it's different. Like when I was younger, I would go to like open mics and stuff, but with the internet and
it's changed. I was gonna say digital has taken over.
Digital's changed the game. But what's great now is that, you know, I had some wins and some success that, you know, I have relationships with managers, I got relationships with lawyers, producers.
And all that builds over time.
And, you know, sometimes people, they're going to come find you if they're dope, you know, so that's a blessing, because now, like, I'm definitely going to see the pick of the litter now. And definitely just staying in tune with the youngins, man. Like, I always got young people around me, you know, and I'm just constantly learning and being educated by what's going on with them. And I'm humble. Like, I'm not going to act like I'm just the shit to everybody. Like, I really, like, believe in my young. I listen to them. You know what I'm saying? I just got good relationships.
So you growing up in a whole different era of hip-hop music.
Yeah.
How does that shape kind of the way that you deal with and look at and work with talent nowadays? Because it's really transitioned from when you were growing up to now.
I just try to stay educated by, like, what kids like.
Because, you know, some OGs are like, like, you know, they don't respect it.
That's how you fall off.
Yeah.
Because, you know, every generation was different than the prior one. You know, I'm pretty sure Big Daddy Kane and like a lot of stuff that was going on after him, and I'm pretty sure it's gonna be like that forever. So
you gotta evolve.
You gotta evolve, and you gotta understand, like, life changes, people change. Of course, I love my lyricists and my, you know, my substance, but I understand the Tekashi 6ix9ines and all these little Pump and stuff. I still listen to their music. It's good music. But
it's just a different vibe.
It's just different vibes, you know. But we can't look down on the youngsters. We gotta just, you know, we gotta uplift them, because they the next ones getting it.
Right. What advice would you give to artists? I mean, you're basically who everyone's trying to, you know, get in contact with. You and people in your position that do what you do. How do you get recognized?
I think the youngsters are falling back too hard on the internet and DMing, and not really.
So don't DM.
You could DM, but do more than DM. You know, really get out in the streets, really try to hustle, really try to get your record played in the club, like really go out there and put some footwork in. I think that it's a sense of entitlement with the new generation from young execs. People want to get in the game. They just think everything's supposed to be handed to them. Or if they do one good thing, they're supposed to be rewarded. And, you know, that's not how it goes. You got to just keep pushing forward.
What's the hardest part about your position now?
The hardest part about my position is that I got to put in so many hours still. And, you know, I don't get to see my family like I want to see my family. I don't get to do a lot of stuff. So I'm, like, constantly in the mix of music. And it's like you got to constantly, every day you got to be up on what's going on. Like, every day is 35 new rappers popping up. So you just got to stay on top of everything. And, you know, it's just...
And with what you do, it's like never stop. It's not like you're going to work your way up to just chill. Never. I mean, to an extent. Like, you're still going to have to...
But even then, you got to hire smart. You got to... So it's like different levels of, like, what's going on. Like, even if I grow, I grow, and I got 3 people I hired, they ain't doing shit. That reflects on me.
Right.
You know? So you got to... You got to just keep it going.
Is there something you do nowadays to kind of like still, I guess, improve your craft? Like how there's actors like Denzel Washington that still take acting classes, for example.
I just try to learn more and more about every facet of the game, like even from like being around mixed engineers or just getting advice from certain people that I look up to, and just really just continue learning. And I think that's just like the biggest thing is like educating yourself constantly.
Always
Always get better. Yeah, for sure. And like with me, I always try to be a leader. So, you know, I want all the people that are under me working, I want them to see how hard I work to know, this is what it takes to make it, you know. So I try to always set an example.
What do you think is a top characteristic that a leader should possess? A good leader?
Hard work and trust, and just being like a loyal person to your people. Like reliable for sure. For sure.
Okay. Is there something you do, like a daily routine that maybe you've done for years, or anything you did back then that you feel like got you to where you are?
No, it's not really a daily routine. I always...
Like anything you throw in there, any books you read, any kind of habits?
Well, the main habit is going to strip clubs to keep my ear right. And because it's really important, boys and girls, for strip clubs, because the strippers are the best A&Rs in the world.
So for aspiring A&Rs.
For aspiring A&Rs, strip clubs are important. Don't go spend all your money in there. You know, buy some drinks, tip a little bit. But
how are you going to go to the strip club and not
you can tip a little bit, just get in a cut. You know what I'm saying? Find a little, you know what I mean?
Okay. Just a little corner table.
You spend all your money on one stripper and just keep spending on her, and she'll show love to you. You look good.
Okay, you know what I mean? So it's crazy. So what's next for you? Like, what's going on now? What are you currently working on?
So I just signed 2 new acts that I'm super excited about. Well, I just put out Nipsey Hussle album, Victory Lap. So if you haven't got that, please go get it. We worked very hard on that. Nipsey put his blood, sweat, and tears into that album. And I really feel like it's a classic, you know, personally. And I don't really say that much.
Yeah. What do you think that just reminds you, what do you think is your biggest accomplishment to this day? Career-wise.
My biggest accomplishment so far, I think it's probably just like being Grammy nominated with Wale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah.
What do you want to achieve? Like, is there a goal you have in mind?
Man, I want to
bring one home.
I want to bring one home, but I also want to have an act that transcends the game, like Beyonce, Prince, Michael Jackson did. I want to have one Drake. I want to have one of those artists that is like, this is like.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you can't touch them, and it's just like their shit is just going to live on forever, you know? So I'm really aspiring to have that one artist that my legacy could be like, yo, he signed, what's his name, though? It don't matter what else he did that too, you know?
And how do you go about that? And how do you distinguish somebody like a Beyonce or a Prince or an MJ?
Sometimes it's luck, and sometimes it's just being at the right place at the right time, for real. And it's just about you really knowing music, and, you know, one thing about them, they evolved so much, like, through the years. Like, they didn't just start off as just superstars. Like, they put the work in.
You see Drake and Degrassi.
Exactly. They were telling Drake he wasn't going to be able to make it as a rapper. And look at Drake now laughing at all of us.
Right. All right, well, go ahead and tell us about your new artist, what we can look forward to, where people can follow you.
So, Rico Havoc, I signed him. He's a new artist from Philly. He's 21 years old. His Instagram is Rico Havoc, Ayo. It's RECO Havoc. We just put out a song called Flex that we just dropped today on iTunes. And I signed a kid from Compton, Roddy Ricch. He's 19 years old. And I think they're 2 of the next biggest rappers in the music game. And I haven't felt like this excited about new talent in a long time.
That's big.
And I also have an R&B artist from Atlanta named LA. It's spelled ELHAE though.
Okay.
He just performed at Coachella. He's performing at Coachella this weekend. And those are like my new acts that I'm getting off the ground right now. So I'm excited about them. They're going to be like really special artists.
Well, make sure you guys look out for them.
And you can find me on Instagram at Dallas Lifestyle. But just don't be always DMing me about some music, man. You know
chill. Work for it, like you said. You got to go back to the old days where you're handing out mixtapes in the street.
Let me find you.
Nice. All right. Well, thank you guys for watching. Make sure you follow Dallas where?
Dallas Lifestyle.
And make sure, you look out for him and his artists.
Yeah, for real, because we on that come up. You feel me?
The come up.
Yeah, let's get it.